Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning or good evening. I'm not sure at what time you're watching this. As you saw in the introduction, my name is Enno Van Kersen. I am a sales training manager at IDEXX. Now, I'm presuming that IDEXX is a name that is familiar to you, even though I am in Europe. I'm in the Netherlands, where our international headquarters are based, which is the area outside of our worldwide headquarters, which of course is in Maine in the US. I will be talking to you today about the topic selling in tough times. I have a background in selling. I have a background in sales training. Actually, most of it has been in sales training. I have worked at various technology companies before I've worked at IDEXX. None of them veterinary, by the way. I've worked at companies like IBM, Lenovo, and TomTom. So very technology based. But I've also owned my own company. So I empathize with you. I've been the owner of a small business for 4 years in the middle of the deepest crisis that Europe has ever seen. I left IBM in 2008 to start my own sales training company. And I've been doing cold calls at the edge of my bed and facing negativity and despondence and people that couldn't pay their invoices for about 4 years. Although I have had successes, that's been a period in which I've discovered what it is to sell in tough times and have found my own ways. But that's not really what I want to talk to you about today. We're going to talk to you about some ways that I have seen veterinary practices in Europe face tough times, how they have rediscovered themselves and have been able to find success in the face of economic difficulty. Now, this picture it's not a dog that was abused in any way. I just want to put your hearts at ease there. It's just a sad-looking dog that is waiting for his owner to return. His future is uncertain, and that's the same for all of us. Now, why is that future uncertain? There is a couple of things at play. First of all, there is economic uncertainty, and there's always been economic uncertainty. Funny thing is, what I've seen is that we've gone from a period of really phenomenal growth with the outset of the internet, the dot-com bubble, where everything was fantastic and the sky was the limit. And we've taken a very, very hard tumble, going back to the 2008 period that I mentioned, where it was absolute crisis. Since then, we have recovered, but we've recovered in a way that everybody now seems to be very careful. The graphs have gone from way up to way down, and they're kind of balancing out, and it's a very modest growth. The same thing happens in Europe. You can see some countries growing at 2%, 2.5%, some of them growing 0.5%, some of them not growing at all. And that's been going on for quite a while. I think for about 10 years it's been like that. And it just signifies that people are still very uneasy. There are no big investments. People are afraid to spend a lot of money. Even smaller investments are under scrutiny. And from what I know about South Africa, it's nothing different there. There are some that are doing well, but a lot of people are very careful. There are a lot of people who don't have a lot of spending cash ready to invest. So you have to be smart about what you do. Tough times that create uncertainty, and uncertainty creates low spending. And of course, low spending creates a stagnating economy, which then gives more uncertainty, and it just stays that way. And I don't know when we're going to get out of that. We're never sure. Future's uncertain. And with that, there has also been another change. And that's a little bit the change that the role of the customer has had over time. If you think back, if you can think back, if you're about my age, you can think back to the 70s, and actually from the 1900s or the 1880s up until the 1970s, it was really a product-driven market. Sales was product-driven. If you had a product and you had a sales force, the sales force had all the knowledge of the product and they had all the power. As a customer, you were reliant on the sales team to explain to you what the product was, what it did, how much it cost, how long you would have it, when you would need a new one. And as a customer, you were pretty much at the mercy of the sales team. with the onset of services, and now we're thinking about companies like IBM, like Xerox, like HP, that are providing very large-scale services to companies that are custom-made, that are not off-the-shelf products. Suddenly, the company itself couldn't just dictate what the customers wanted. We were going out there and asking people, where do you feel the greatest need? What is it that you think you need help with? Where are you facing challenges? And then we will customize or build a service for you. And they were competing in that way. So they were not just competing on saying, hey, we are the greatest. We have all the power. We can tell you, Mr. Customer, what you need. We needed the customer to be on our side a little bit. We needed to start asking some questions. So we're giving a little bit of power back to the customer. Now that's gone topsy-turvy, that's gone upside down, because with the onset of internet, basically customers had such a wealth of data and information. They could figure out everything that they wanted about the company and the product before the first salesperson even went through the door. There's some research saying that 60% of the sales cycle was finished before you even talked to a salesperson. And that's given a lot of the power to the customer. So the customers are actually in charge. So ever since the 2000, and if you want to know more about that, read, for instance, the book about the Challenger sale, a very interesting study done that really shows that sales need to take a very different tack when it comes to convincing customers or working with customers. The power is at the customer side, and that's all the internet's fault. So what's happening today? We call it the relationship-centric era, and that's because the sheer amount of things that people can buy today, the enormous choice that they have, has given customers not only the power to buy whatever they like, but they've almost given them an embarras de choix in French. How would you say that? There's so much to choose from that they wouldn't know where to start. So we find that customers today are looking for meaning. They're looking for a sense that that you as a provider of services and products care about that customer, that you're interested in creating a sort of a partnership with them. They want to feel that they belong to you or belong with you. So it's more than just sitting in their office looking at a screen and buying the cheapest product. Customers are looking for relationships, not just products. And that's actually a bit of good news, because that creates an opening to a style of working that you can adopt that would attract a set of customers to you and keep them for a longer time. More about that in a second. Because at the same time, all this wonderful stuff that's online, all the social media, the Amazons of the world, have also taught our customers that they can pretty much get anything they want at a click of a button. And if they don't like it, they can just return it. We've created a generation of luxury for our shoppers. They are entitled. They do want a very, very high level of service. And that, again, complicates factors. So what does that mean? Pretty much the following. These are pressures. These are forces that are acting on you as a business, are acting on you as a business owner. And there are 4 outcomes. And actually, ever since I've been in business, and that's quite a while, there are 4 outcomes. Staying the same is not one of them. That's the outset. The status quo does not appear in this picture. You either grow and succeed, and however you do that is up to you, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But of course, growth in general, you grow and succeed, that is one of the outcomes. If by yourself, that is not an option, you can join forces, which means you either get bought by someone, or you team up with someone, you create an alliance, or you merge, you do a joint venture, you team up with someone to create that strength and that market presence. Another version is you specialize. You find a niche, do something that nobody else can do. The 4th option is you fail, you die, you stop. And unfortunately, that is an outcome of these processes. Coming out the same way that you were going in is not an option, as I said before. You have to change. You have to find either of these ways to either grow, team up, specialize, or you stop and you got to do something else. And that happens as well. More and more, and South Africa, by outset, is a country that has a lot of small vets, small clinics. It's a small business country. That's a strength. I do see that small businesses create enormous economic growth when given the freedom to do that. For small vets, and this is not a South African vet, I couldn't take that one, of course, but anecdotally, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, the single person classic vet that doesn't invest, that keeps doing medicine the way they did it 30 years ago, there is less and less place for that. And you see colleagues that have to quit. They sell out or they just quit. Unfortunately, that's a business driver that is never going to stop, but it happens, and it means that we have to be prepared for that, and we have to choose either of the three other outcomes. Here's something that we see a lot of in the US and in Europe, the upcoming of corporate veterinary groups. They are buying up more and more. We see it a lot in the Nordics, in the UK. It's starting to come into the Benelux. They're buying up practices. They're eating them up for breakfast. And they're then turning them into their own image, which sometimes is high quality, high investment. Sometimes it's very operationally driven and they're ramming out all the costs. Sometimes they leave a lot of room for individual clinics to do it in their own way. They just change the logo. But it's a way that, that they create scale. Interestingly, what we're seeing at the same time is that there are successful and healthy clinics that are choosing their own path, that don't want to get gobbled up by the big sharks. They want to survive. They don't want to end up having to quit. So they band together. They create buying groups. It's almost like a French resistance. They create their own resistance by solidifying bonds, by buying together, by agreeing not to sell. And this creates a very interesting dynamic, but you're seeing that there is a need for consolidation. It's very difficult for individual small practices to survive under that kind of pressure. It's also cleaning up. It's also maybe a healthy pressure, but it's not great if you're at the receiving end of some of these buying powers. So that's something that's happening. Another option is to specialize. You can be the clinic that specializes in aquaculture. You can be the clinic that specializes in seals and sea lions. You can be a wildlife specialist. So I assume that there are more in South Africa that do that. But specialization is one way of protecting your niche, of making sure that you have a future. It requires investment because it requires probably training, maybe hiring, maybe investing in special apparatus, but it is definitely something that is worth looking into. If you're currently a very generic medium-sized clinic, then advanced specialization in any kind of, I'm choosing animals here, but it could also be that you're going into orthopedics, into dentistry, ophthalmology. Any kind of specialization will give you an advantage. But there is one option that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth. And of course, it's not really surprising where I come from, but it's about diagnostics. There are several reasons for thinking about diagnostics. If you look at and this is a US model, of course, and I'm not saying that what happens in the US will happen in South Africa. We're not even saying what happens in the US will happen in Europe, but the trends are comparable. And even though some of the numbers, the absolute numbers might differ from where you are and where I am, we are accepting in Europe and in IDEXX that these trends are comparable. What the US have seen, if they do their research, is that, let's say, best-in-class clinics, the clinics that are currently thriving, growing, have a healthy financial model, a healthy customer base, healthy growth predictions, are getting up to 25% of their revenue from doing veterinary diagnostics. Now, this is taking the place of, let's say, traditional steady income streams such as pet food, vaccinations, both of which are declining. We've seen that clinics are looking for, because you cannot just hope for more surgery or hope for things to happen. You have to have a steady understream of recurring income. And so this shows you that that it is seen in the industry as a best in class way of generating income. Now, the interesting thing about diagnostics is that it not only creates income by itself, it also generates income. If you detect something, you can treat it, you can sell food, specialized food for it, you can sell pharma for it. So not only does it generate revenue by itself, it creates revenue. At IDEXX, we say that diagnostics is in fact the voice of the pet. It's very difficult for these lovely creatures to tell you what's wrong with them. They can't speak. So by doing tests, by running blood tests, by running chemistry and hematology and urine tests, we let them speak. We let them tell us what's ailing them. And as you know from experience, some animals are very good at camouflaging their symptoms. Some of them are very, very sick, and you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at them. And this is one way of letting them express what they're feeling and what's ailing them. And interestingly, some of the research we've done shows that on healthy-looking animals, on seemingly well pets, even young and adult ones, if you run a good number of tests, you will find certain results that indicate that there is an illness that you didn't see, or an illness that is maybe not come to expression yet. Of course, in geriatrics, it's more obvious, but 50% of the geriatrics in the test that we've run show 2 or 3 results that exceed critical values. So there is something definitely wrong that that were not seen or aren't seen at first inspection. That's maybe not surprising. What is interesting is that it's about the same for young and adults, where up to 15 and 18% of tested animals did in fact have something that was worth treating. And it's not just worth treating for your business, but it's worth treating for the health and well-being of that pet, and of course for the well-being of the pet owner. So that just goes to show that that there is something in diagnostics for you, for the pet, and for the pet owner. This sounds also good for pet owners. We see that the generational change, the generational shift, is in favor of diagnostics and in favor of us. The amount of money that millennials will spend on their pets is significantly higher than it was for the generation previous to that. More and more, they're feeling like they're part of the family. I hear ridiculous stories of pets lying in bed, being given people food. What the Americans call the humanization of pets is well on their way, and it can be seen in each of the different generations. And the people that are going to be coming to your clinics for the next 10 to 20 years care deeply about their pets and are willing to spend. They're willing to invest, and they're willing to trust you to keep their pets healthy and keep their family members, as they call them, healthy and part of that family. Now, one way to do that is to, and of course this comes also with the fact that this new generation is being brought up with getting very quick turnaround on everything that they want, is by ruling out some of the fears that they have and creating confidence in your ability to diagnose and treat their pets in a short turnaround time. More and more we're seeing, and I hear from my South African colleagues that this is absolutely true in your country as well, that people don't want to wait 2 days until they get a result. They want the result now. So one of the things we talked about is increasing the customer experience. This is something that a lot of clinics are looking into. It's being able to do a pre-consultation, a consultation, and then discuss already treatment options within one visit. Within half an hour to an hour, your pet owner will go from, I have no idea what's going on, but there's something wrong with my dog, to, okay, I know what it is, I know what it isn't, I know what I can expect. And that does wonders for their relationship with you, and that is exactly the kind of relationship that they're looking for, which is one of trust and partnership. It's something that is driving IDEXX, of course, also in our research and development, in our innovation. We are there to create the devices and the technology that allows you to do something like this. Fresh samples, of course, clinically, that is something that is always good, advantageous. Fresh is best, but also, of course, for the thinking of your customers. So if you look at it, there are 3 things that I've seen clinics do that are in a situation where it's not going that well. It's about the fact that they are, I think, best-in-class customers or best-in-class clinics are realizing that it's extremely hard to steal customers of someone else, to increase the size of your customer base. And you need to focus on making sure that those customers that are already your customers stay your customer, and that you leverage that relationship to increase their revenue share, so that you get more revenue from existing customers instead of trying to find new ones. And there are 3 ways of doing that. One is by investing in ways to generate that steady understream of diagnostics revenue. This will make sure that you have a healthy cash flow, but it will also make sure that you have early diagnosis, early treatment plans, and you create confidence in the heads and hearts of your pet owners. The second thing that I'm observing customers doing in Europe is that they are making sure that they can offer most of the services that are needed to treat the pet in their own location. So instead of sending a lot out to a referral clinic, to larger hospitals, they want to be able to do those things internally. So customers have no reason to go anywhere else. They want to be able to do the one-stop treatment or the one hospital treatment service, which means, of course, that they're investing in additional specializations. They're maybe increasing their staff. They're bringing on board maybe somebody that does dentistry, or they do their own surgery. But they want to make sure that the customers don't have any reasons to go anywhere else than them. And then the third thing they're doing is that they're investing in optimizing the customer experience by using technology, by connectivity, so that they can use iPads, phones, apps to show trend lines, to show results, to make it very intuitive for customers and for pet owners to become maybe even part of the conversation. It's part of that relationship drive that our customers today have everywhere in the world. This relationship era that I talked about is that they want to feel that they're part of what's going on. They want to, let's say, almost feel like they're helping their pet themselves. And you do that by communicating openly, by being very transparent to your pet owners about what you're doing, and by using electronic devices such as iPads. It becomes very intuitive for them. They can see what you're doing. They can see the results that they've paid for on the diagnostic test, etc. It also allows you to send, of course, reminder emails, reminder things. And this is something that we are investing in at IDEXX, and that there is a separate session on done by one of my colleagues, which I encourage you to watch after this or at a different time. So work on an understream of diagnostic revenue that generates confidence and generates additional requirement from you. Make sure that you're able to deliver those things in-house, and then make sure that you have a way of working with your customers that makes them feel part of the treatment plan, that makes them feel connected to you, and puts them at ease, and make sure that they understand what you're doing and that you're charging them for. Now, this is real. This is just not something that I came up with or something that happens in the US. I checked with my local colleagues in South Africa. There's a team of 4 wonderful account managers that are there for you, and that will be happy to explain any of this and share even more examples that they have from their own working life about clinics. But this is one story of a clinic that I was not able to share the name of because we didn't ask them and they haven't given us permission. But I called them ABC Clinic. And they actually started from a bad place. They were a very small clinic that were not in a very good area. There was not a lot of money there, and they were not doing well. They were losing customers. They had stable to declining revenue, and they weren't happy. Excuse me. And they wanted to do something about that. One of the things they did, and I'm not sure you're in the capacity to do that, but they moved location. As in real estate, location is essential. The area that you're in, the affluence of that area, the population density of that area, of course, makes all the difference, as you will undoubtedly know yourself. But the other thing that they did, and this is a joint decision, we of course I will admit that we provided some consultancy there, but they decided to go down the road of including diagnostics, and that means in-house diagnostics, into their standard protocols. So they decided, and they were confident enough to explain this to their patients, and said, whoever comes in here for whatever treatment, we will run a full chemistry and hematology panel on you, so that we are sure that we pick up anything that's there that we didn't know, that we don't operate at risk, and that we are able to treat whatever is ailing the animal. They on purpose kept that price of that test low. Of course, you can make profit on your diagnostics, but you don't have to, because they knew that it was going to generate additional revenue down the line anyway. So they kept the test relatively low, of course, increasing the acceptance of their pet owners. And if you were to come to this clinic today, you would see that they have, of course, a nice new location with a very modern feel. With a huge parking space that they tell me is always full, and they're now employing 4 full-time vets, and they're doing very well. And it's because of those 2 changes. It's the move, but it's also the decision to start including diagnostics in everything that they do. And it's made the world of difference. And as my colleagues promised me, there are multiple examples like that out there. So I want to conclude with that, and maybe recap what I said before about the 3 changes that we see best-in-class customers taking. It's investing in a steady stream of income, and you could choose diagnostics to do that. Keep the customers coming to your clinic by offering more and more of those services yourself and not sending them out. And improve the customer experience by using technology, by using communications that are available to us today. Now, if you feel that you want to talk more to any of my colleagues in South Africa, please go to our website and follow the Contact Us button there. There are email addresses and telephone numbers you can call. Maybe you already have a contact at IDEXX with one of your local account managers. Please reach out. They will be more than happy to tell you those stories of other clinics that have done similar things and investigate how that might benefit you as well. With that, I want to thank you for your time and attention, and wish you the best of luck in your clinic, of course, medically, but also commercially. Have a wonderful conference, and perhaps see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Enno. That was wonderful. We have partnered with IDEXX for this summit, and we will be bringing, we will be doing an online session later in the year where we will bring on the full team from IDEXX, and it will be interactive, and we'll get the vets
Cool.
involved. So I'm looking forward to that. But this has been
Fantastic.
incredibly helpful. You know, trends are changing, not only with regards to technology and all that kind of stuff, but as you explained, with regards to the habits of our customers and the way they buy. And the relationship, building relationships with your customers is extremely important, to get loyal customers that stay with you all the time. So thank you so much. This was really great.